Cruis'n, yeah.
Cruisn World on N64.
So we finished off Cruis'n USA, and now we go tackle its sequel. Believe it or not, it's called Cruisn World. So after Cruis'n USA was released, the Grace community was holding their breath to see what will actually come out next. And honestly, a lot of things when you come building up sequels, Cruisn World is a great release. In 1996, when it got put in arcades, it was phenomenal. They upped the graphics, they upped the sound, they upped everything on it. And then the port 2 years later came out in N64, and it is way better. They innovated and they just added on already a great title. They have exploring the world now with new cars, trick mechanics, and different track setups. This game honestly has a new fresh coat of paint that I'm enjoying a lot. And the new track theming is amazing. And you guys remember how much I love a good track theming. Or an arcade version, they have you pick up to 12 different vehicles you can choose from. On N64, when they have up to 21 vehicles, which is a pretty good choice. With the inclusion of 15 different tracks based on real world locations, this game is starting to shape out really well. Nice. And with the time and love put into the sequel, it was clear it was going to be a smash hit in the arcades with racing fans alike. And of course, with getting coming 2 years after the previous, there has to be some improvements, right? Now let's talk about gameplay. Now, in Cruis'n USA, the gameplay mechanic when it came to the control analog was a little bit oversensitive. It tended to zip left or right. You had to do a lot of quarter pushes, half pushes in order to control your car correctly. In Cruis'n World, they fixed that. Your car has a very nice weight to it. When you turn corners, you feel it. When you do certain stunts, you feel it. When you jump hills and you curve, you feel it. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Eric, what happens if you get rid of that? Look at the moon level. I personally hate that level. I got stuck on it a lot because the main fact that they got rid of the weight. So when your car bounces a little too much and drags off or drifts, the mechanics are still there without the actual nuance of grabbing the tires, and you end up flying off the road easily. And that's the little things they put into it that you really appreciate the main gameplay of it. So you guys remember in Cruis'n USA, where you had to place first place in order to actually continue? In this game, they put it down to the top 3, which is a big improvement, so made me happy. They also added a boost mechanic. By double tapping the gas, you get a very slight boost when playing, a side drift that makes you pop up on 2 wheels going around corners, and a trick system on the hills that gives you a little bit extra time, a little bit extra speed, and you can tell it's a lot of fun with flipping around. And they're completely worthless in the arcade for the most part. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all the time, just most of the time. I've had the boost save me on a few times on these tracks when trying to get in the first place. But other than that though, it seems like the game always seems to rubber band the opponents right behind me when I do boost. And honestly, I've had a few times where I would jump, end up crashing, end up going back 4 spots. The mechanics are great, but the inability to steer yourself in control and slam into the walls really is bad and a damper on the gameplay. Oh, and I forgot, they fixed the AI for the non-verse computer traffic they have in the game. Now, Cruis'n USA had a random system where they populate the cars inside each of the tracks, flying through to try and block to make it more, variable. Now, here's the problem though. The game did not do a well job on Redwood. Okay, remember how I hate Redwood? It was mainly because, God forbid, you get stuck on a 2-lane road with traffic piling up with other computers going blah 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 blah, just all crunched in there. And then what happens? It gets completely stuck. And then you have to do like a pray and a dance just to hope of God that you actually make it through that traffic to actually continue forward. Or just threaten it that will never see its brethren again if it doesn't get you stuck off the pile of cards it's placed there. So now the way the AI works on Cruis'n World is pretty smart. If you have a small enough track that only really has 2 lanes, the computer tends to not throw too many AI like traffic vehicles towards you or even along with you. And if you ever happen to get hit, it ends up knocking you out of it so you don't get stuck, which is a godsend. Trust me when I say that. When you're playing and you see that, it was like night and day difference when it came to the AI for that. And the computer you verse this time is way better with the AI. Now before in Cruis'n USA, it had a problem that if their vehicle had to stop, it would just instant stop or instant get to a speed in order to make a turn. So it can be going full speed and it'd be slide right in. Now they actually try to do drifting, they actually try to do maneuvers, they actually will slow down. And it's nice to see the car slow down, speed up, right? Reason now, guess what? There is still rubber banding happening in the game. The speed rubber banding is always going to be there from what I can tell, but it's not as bad as it was in USA. Now, with the way rubber banding is, if they are fairly far back, there's a max cap to how fast they can go to traffic. So that made me really happy also. When you got a nice good lead and you crash, you're not going to get an instant backup with the guys come around you taking your spot. Now let's talk about the best part, the tracks. Tracks include Hawaii, Japan, Australia, China, Egypt, Germany, Italy, France, England, Mexico, New York, Florida, Moon, Moscow, and Africa, being Kenya, of course. Now, the tracks in this game are incredible and awesome. I love how the variety of each track feels completely different in each of them. And one of the key points I like to say is that you don't feel like they're reusing assets. Each level is put and built up in such a way to reflect what they're supposed to be representing. Yes, and the shortcuts that help ever so slightly. And the placement for jumps and boosts that overtake the competition are kind of okay. The levels have a real-world vibe, and including things like digitized landmarks, animals, giving it all a real live-in feel. And now for another wiki fun fact. The developers of the game sent artists on a round-the-world trip to digitally capture sites and major tourist attractions. The development of the N64 version started in 1996, and after the development of the N64 version of Cruis'n USA, Evan Jarvis had admitted that the Cruis'n USA port was not good, so they promised that the game would be the arcade perfect for Cruisn World. He took the Cruisn World license and decided to spend more time on the game than in Cruis'n USA. In early 1997, Nintendo announced that Cruisn World would be coming to the 64 in the fall, but then the game was slightly delayed until 1998. And because of this trip they took, they invented a lot of new tracks for us to enjoy. And when new tracks come with new cars that are inspired off the location these tracks are based off of. Vehicles, cars, trucks, three-way motorbikes are as follows. Please know that this list is a mix of both the arcade and N64 port. You got the Venom SST, Kamikaze AWT, the Humvee, the Ladybug, the 6P6, the Benghazi GTV, the Zombie XXX, the Orca, the El Diablo, the Rhino 4x4, the Gimpy, the Road King, the Grasshopper, the Bulldog, the Enforcer, the New York Taxi, the School Bus, the Exec, the Conductor, the Steam Demon, the Tommy, the Rocket, the Surgeon, Monster, Holla. Is there any more to say? No, that was all of them. And the visual sounds don't hold back as well. So I'd like to make something clear. I do emulate in my gameplays, I really don't. I have the game from last time and the game from this video. I have the physical games, I played them on actual, hardware. I truthfully do enjoy the N64, but here's the problem though, and I learned this the hard way. It's very difficult to capture video off the N64. A real N64 output's about 240p, and this signal is usually way too low for most modern video capture hardware to even detect. Now there's more higher end stuff, but unfortunately, spending the money to collect that and to start videos that I truthfully just love making was a hard sell. But I got lucky, and if you notice in the last videos, I had to take an actual camcorder and crop across the TV in order to get my gameplay footage, which unfortunately made the game look washed out and overblown, oversaturated. And now with this new capture device I did end up getting off of Amazon, it looks way better, and I'm just glad I'm able to show you guys how it looks unfiltered, because when taking it off the screen and taking off the way the TVs encode and the way the HD screens are nowadays, you guys rarely ever see how N64 truly puts out the graphics. And with this way, hopefully you guys will see and appreciate how much work these people did to make these graphics look so good. Compared to other games, especially racing games, a lot of producers, they publish a game that look like boxes floating on tracks. And I'm not saying all of them, there's a lot of good exceptions like Rush series and Cruis'n series, and I just want to let you guys know there's a reason why I am so happy to be able to show you guys the gameplay footage of this. But luckily I found a media recorder from Japan that works flawlessly with a 240p output from the N64. The game looks incredible with track layout, the color changing, underwater driving sections, and even more when it's so dynamic. I love it. And even though I might hate driving in the moon level, I thought the earth in the background was really stunning. I just wish it had more stars in the sky. And the sound direction of this game is actually good, just like the last game, but music to me is a big plus in Cruis'n World. Cruis'n USA had great songs, but the loops were so short. I assumed they had a MIDI setup, but it wasn't enough variety in it, and some songs actually sound identical except for 2 variations. Now, one thing I noticed with Cruis'n World is that they still use the same MIDI type breakdown in order to make the songs and make it flow across, but the compilation and the way it's coordinated throughout the songs, it feels varied, it feels different. Each song has a distinct feel, and I was very appreciative on the sound direction they went with this. So I'm impressed. I'm truthfully impressed. So my closing thoughts for this game, I love Cruis'n World. It was a better sequel than Cruis'n USA. Just like I said for the last one, if you happen to see it in the arcades, go ahead, play it, it's great. The one thing I will say though, the difference between the two is that with Cruis'n World, if you get a chance to play it on N64, play it. It's a worth to buy, it has extra tracks, extra vehicles, and honestly the way it's set up, it's way great. Now, here's the thing, they have also an extra championship mode on the N64 version, which breaks down the easy, medium, hard, and expert difficulty tracks, and those things are great. If you can unlock faster vehicles, you can unlock the secret ones, and to me, that's well worth a sell when it comes to the system. We knocked out 2, we might as well go for a 3-piece.
Roger. Payload release.